Good morning. I call this public hearing on House Bill 1816 and Victoria's Law to order. We're joined by members both virtually and in person. We'll start with Representative Isaacson. Introduce yourself.
Good morning. I'm Representative Mary Isaacson from the 175th District in Philadelphia County.
And my partner in crime, Chairman Metzger, would you introduce yourself? Unmute him. I think you're muted on your end, Chairman.
Yeah, how about that? Yeah, thank you, Chairman, for calling this meeting, and look forward to the testimony today.
Stephen. Online, we're joined by Representative Malagari. Today, we are here to discuss House Bill 1816, sponsored by Representative McNeil, a piece of legislation that seeks to fundamentally change how we regulate commercial dog breeding in Pennsylvania. For many years, our Commonwealth has carried a reputation as the puppy mill capital of the East Coast. While we take pride in our agricultural roots, we must also take responsibility for the standards of care within our borders. This bill isn't about man's best friend. It's about consumer protection, public health, and ensuring that our laws reflect the values of the Pennsylvania we represent. House Bill 1816 aims to close the loopholes that allow inhumane mills to thrive, prioritizing the health of the animal and the transparency of the industry over the bottom line of their irresponsible operators. We have a long list of testifiers today, ranging from veterinary experts to animal welfare advocates. I ask that all testimony remains focused on the merits of the bill so that we can ensure a robust debate on this issue and how to close those loopholes. I call Chairman Metzger, do you have any comments?
No, thank you, Chairman. I'm just anxious to hear the testimony. I appreciate it.
Thank you. As a reminder, please hold all questions until all testifiers have spoken. We will begin with the prime sponsor of the bill, Representative McNeil from Lehigh County.
Thank you, Chairman Burgos, Chairman Metzger, and members of the committee for the opportunity to speak today. For 8 years, Victoria Law has been a legislative priority of mine because it addresses a system that is clearly broken, deeply harmful.
Representative, speak into the mic. It's not coming on this.
For 8 years, Victoria's Law has been a legislative priority of mine because it addresses a system that is clearly broken, deeply harmful, and long overdue for reform. Puppy mills are inhumane commercial breeding operations, yet they continue to supply puppies to pet stores in Pennsylvania. These stores rely on an outdated business model that most of the pet industry has already abandoned. The result is predictable. Families spend thousands of dollars caring for sick puppies, endure the heartbreak of losing a new pet, and often are misled about an animal's health, origin, and financing. Several times I transported dogs and puppies from these puppy mills and saw for myself the fear, the filth, the overgrown nails, horribly infected ears, hair so matted some dogs could not even lift their heads from their neck. I apologize for my emotions. Cuts on top of dogs' heads because the cage was too small. Splayed feet from living year after year in a rabbit cage. And that is the minimum damage compared to so many other major health issues. Health issues that are passed on to all those cute little puppies that people buy, not knowing the health history of the parents. At the same time, shelters and rescues across our Commonwealth struggle to find homes for homeless pets. Thousands are euthanized each year simply because they are not adopted, while puppy mills continue producing animals for retail sale. This is not an accident, it's a market failure. Victoria was a German Shepherd rescued from a Pennsylvania puppy mill after 10 years of breeding. By the time she was saved, she was paralyzed from degenerative myelopathy, a preventable genetic disease. She likely passed this on to many of the 150 to 200 puppies she produced. Victoria's story is not unique, but it's a powerful reminder of the cost of inaction. Victoria's Law would end the sale of puppy mill dogs, cats, and rabbits in pet stores, protect consumers from deceptive sales practices, and drive the pet market toward humane sources such as shelters, rescues, and responsible breeders. This bill is not anti-pet store or anti-breeder. Pet stores can and do thrive by partnering with shelters and rescues, and responsible breeders benefit when unethical operators are removed from the pipeline. More than 500 localities, including many here in Pennsylvania and multiple states, have already enacted similar laws with proven success. Victoria's Law is compassionate, practical, and ready. Many other states have stopped this horror, and we are long overdue for this to happen. After more than 8 years of work, I believe Pennsylvania is ready too. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Do we have any questions for maker of the bill? Hearing none, thank you for your testimony, Chairwoman.
Thank you.
And now we'll call up panel one. Ariel Lefkowitz, Public Policy Specialist, Humane World of Animals. Dr. Melissa Resnick, Veterinarian. Grace Kelly Herbert, Finding Shelter Animal Rescue. Can you please make your way to the mic? Okay, Ms. Lekowitz? Oh, on TV, okay. You're our first testifier.
All right, here we are. So good morning, and thank you to the chairs and members of the committee for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Ariel Lefkowitz, and I work as a Puppy Mills Policy Specialist at Humane World for Animals. On behalf of the organization and our supporters here in Pennsylvania, I urge you to support HB 1816, Representative McNeil's Victoria's Law. This is a straightforward and compassionate bill that puts an end to the cruel puppy mill to pet shop pipeline in Pennsylvania. It protects consumers, decreases demand for puppy mill puppies, and promotes responsible breeders and humane businesses. Pennsylvania would join 8 states, including New York and Maryland, that prohibit the sale of dogs and cats in pet shops. And this bill would codify into state law what is already in place in 15 localities in the state. Public records collected by our organization show that hundreds of puppies have been imported by Pennsylvania pet stores from massive Midwest commercial breeders and brokers, many of whom have terrible animal welfare records. Inspection reports document disturbing instances like puppies found in excessively hot kennels, enclosures caked with feces, and a broker found transporting a few puppies as young as 3 weeks old. That particular broker has sold to 6 stores in Pennsylvania. Laws prohibiting the sale of puppies in pet shops have made a noticeable impact on this cruel industry, with roughly 550,000 or 44% fewer puppies now born into USDA licensed mills than in 2020. This bill will protect residents from unknowingly supporting a pipeline that is a nightmare for the dogs trapped in cages for their entire lives. It also prevents consumers from ending up with sick or genetically compromised pet shop puppies and the financial and emotional strain that comes from purchasing a sick puppy. This bill also stops those who cannot afford the high price tag of a pet shop puppy from being pushed into predatory third-party loans. In some cases, we've seen Pennsylvania customers ending up with interest rates above 150%. This pipeline is simply too broken to regulate. HB 1816 puts forth a proven, targeted solution to do right by both animals and consumers. It merely requires stores to cut ties with puppy mills and transition to a humane business model by January 1st of 2027. Last year, Americans spent $152 billion on their pets, with food, treats, and services like grooming and boarding dominating. So this bill will promote humane pet businesses like the hundreds of stores in PA currently thriving on that pet products and services model. It will allow residents to find the pet of their choice from the region's numerous shelters, rescues, like breed-specific rescues, and seek out responsible breeders who only ever sell directly to the public. We respectfully ask you to support this bill. Thank you.
Next, we hear testimony from Dr. Resnick.
Good morning.
Morning.
Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Thank you. On behalf of the Humane Veterinary Medical Alliance, I would like to express my strong support for House Bill 1816, Victoria's Law. I've worked as a shelter veterinarian.
We're having some technical difficulties with Dr. Resnick. I would like to acknowledge the presence of Representative Hogan. Ms. Herbert, we're going to, until Ms. Resnick comes back online, can you start your testimony, please? Thank you.
Is it on now? Okay. Chair Burgos, Chair Metzger, and members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. My name is Grace Kelly, and I am the president and co-founder of Finding Shelter Animal Rescue in Norristown, Pennsylvania. I'm here to share my perspective on House Bill 1816, which I strongly support because of its direct impact on Pennsylvania consumers seeking to add a pet to their family. This issue is not abstract for me, it's personal. My work with Finding Shelter Animal Rescue and in the animal welfare space has shown me firsthand for nearly 2 decades the challenges and rewards that come with helping families and pets find each other. Every day I witness how important it is for prospective pet owners to have access to safe, ethical options when choosing to add a new animal companion to their lives. These experiences, both positive and negative, have shaped my strong support for HB 1816 and my belief in its potential to make a meaningful difference for people and animals across the Commonwealth. 16 years ago, shortly after founding Finding Shelter Animal Rescue, I began receiving calls directly from Pennsylvania dog breeders. They were looking for placement for the dogs they no longer wanted. Since 2010, I have personally rescued approximately 10,000 dogs and puppies, over 100 cats and kittens, and a bunny, and also a cow and a chicken. But we're not talking about them today. Just me and my van, driving place to place to pick up animals in need and helping them to get into the safety of a foster home or with one of my many trusted, reputable rescue and shelter contacts. I have never paid 1 cent for the release of these animals, but I can tell you that the cost of their medical care after rescue is astronomical. I have personally welcomed hundreds of these animals into my rescue and home over the years as foster pets, even adopting a few of them myself. From physical health to behavioral health, we have had our fair share of challenges and expenses. We've also had a few puppy deaths from hours to just days after their rescue, despite every effort through hospitalized critical care to save them. We were left with nothing but a small box of ashes and hefty invoices to pay. These were 2, just from last year. Their names were Bert and Tyler. They were babies. Bert's invoice was over $5,000 for 5 days. Tyler's was $4,000 for 3 days, not quite. All I could think and imagine was if this was an unsuspecting family with children whose new puppy died, what if that death occurred outside the puppy lemon law window? I have the heart and soul of a seasoned rescuer, and let me tell you, this was not easy. This was really hard. And these puppies were for sale until the day I got them. Had those people taken them home, they would have had a tragedy in their family. I've seen with my own eyes how these animals were living prior to being sold via various outlets, one of them being pet stores. These experiences opened my eyes to the urgent need for protecting Pennsylvania consumers and, as an added benefit, helping the animals who are part of the profit-centered pet store trade. Remember, I see them before they go to the pet stores. I see the parents, the siblings, the conditions in which they are kept, how they are handled, if they have access to fresh food and clean water, all the things a pet store shopper will never see. Because if any consumer saw the things that I have seen for the past nearly 20 years, they would not spend a penny, let alone thousands of dollars, to purchase that animal. They would know from seeing it with their own eyes that they would be taking a tremendous risk with the purchase monetarily, and that their family should not take an emotional chance on them. The price is too high to pay, and I truly believe they would not wish to pay into a cycle of cruelty. And the stakes are high. For example, nearly 94 million American households have at least one pet, and 60.6% of Pennsylvania residents own pets, and that was the 2024 statistics. That's gone up since then. According to the Pet Products Association, the pet industry shows continued growth and resiliency, with the total U.S. pet industry expenditures reaching $152 billion in 2024. If I had the 2025 numbers, then I would have been happy to share that, but it does go up every year. These statistics underscore the profound impact your decision on House Bill 1816 will have. With millions of households in Pennsylvania and across the country sharing their lives with pets, the outcomes of this legislation reach far beyond the numbers. They touch the everyday experiences of families, friends, and community members and your constituents. The choices made here will directly influence the well-being of both consumers and their beloved animals, shaping not just financial realities, but also the quality of life for countless individuals and companions throughout our Commonwealth. And remember that most of the animals who come to Pennsylvania pet stores come from outside of Pennsylvania, where the standards are much lower than what we have through Pennsylvania dog law. House Bill 1816 offers a practical, evidence-based path forward to protect Pennsylvania consumers, with the added benefits of transparency for prospective pet owners and helping to reduce the demand, commonly through impulse purchases, for animals bred under questionable conditions. It will, for example, help ensure that families who purchase and adopt pets are less likely to face unexpected medical expenses, protect children and other vulnerable family members from potentially unhealthy or unsafe animals, and support responsible breeders and rescues who prioritize animal welfare. By eliminating pet store puppy, kitten, and rabbit sales where the animal's parents are not present and requiring higher standards for animal care and transparency in the pet trade, House Bill 1816 can reduce the risk of heartbreak and financial strain for Pennsylvania families, improve the overall safety and health of pets entering homes, and empower consumers to make more informed, ethical choices. I believe this approach is both compassionate and fiscally responsible. I recognize that there are apprehensions regarding the potential impact on the 39 Pennsylvania businesses affected by this bill should they require to cease the sale of dogs, cats, and rabbits. Nevertheless, the transition presents significant opportunities for pet stores to collaborate with reputable local rescues and shelters through meet and greet events, partner with veterinarians for affordable vaccine clinics, provide training and grooming services, expand into online sales, continue engaging with the local community in store. These partnerships have the potential to strengthen business models rather than undermine them, and this initiative is focused on pragmatic solutions, not political considerations. The Florida Attorney General just put out a 47-page report about the impact of pet stores in Florida, and I think it applies very much to Pennsylvania. I'm happy to answer questions if you have them. I'm just learning of this, and it does show the increase in profitability in pet stores after they changed to a humane model. But in closing, I urge you to support House Bill 1816. The decision you make today will ripple far beyond this room. It will shape the lives of many people like me, my family and friends here in Pennsylvania, and countless others across the Commonwealth. I don't want to see anyone with little boxes of ashes to visit you and ask why profit is still being chosen over Pennsylvanians, human and animal. Thank you for your time, for your service, and your commitment to listening to the voices of those you represent. I appreciate it.
Thank you for your testimony. Now we're here from Dr. Resnick. Pardon me. Also, I'd like to acknowledge we've been joined virtually by Representative Haddock and Representative Tomlinson and Chris Pielli. Representative Pielli. Dr. Resnick. Looks like she's still having technical difficulties. Do we have any questions for the first panel? And we're joined by Representative Mahaffey. Representative Isaacson?
Thank you. I just want to comment that, I appreciate the maker of this bill moving this forward. I just wanted to see if somebody could clarify a little more for people who are watching in the audience about the differentiation between like the high volume commercial kennel as opposed to the standard breeding facilities. You have some good breeders out there. We're not here bashing people who are breeding animals. The point is that the mass production and, resale, if you want to call it that, and continuum, and using animals as, in a lot of these quote unquote puppy mills, is, not looking out for the health and safety of the mother of the animals. So if you could just address that a little bit.
So when I go to the different farms in Pennsylvania, there are between 300 and 400 of these breeders who call me at any given time during the year. And some are licensed commercial, they're large volume, some are, they're different ranges. So, the large scale commercial versus the smaller, private kennels who would be called hobby breeders. Interestingly enough, we have a close-knit group. It seems like a strange thing, but over the past 16 years, I have developed relationships with some of these breeders who have said, we want to do better, we want to try to do better. They've all become licensed, and they said, we know that there are bad actors out there. Every single one of these people that I'm talking to who is licensed, who works very closely with me, have all said that they will not sell to pet stores. These are breeders that have been referred to as puppy mills for years. They're trying to change what they're doing. The strengthening of dog law last year, the transparency clause that actually used to be in Victoria's law that they put into the dog law bill was it was great. It improved the transparency for the consumer that way. The problem is that the large scale consumer or commercial breeders who are sending to the pet stores, they're the ones who are cutting corners so they can make more money, and they're usually transferring across state lines. So we may see that we have some commercial breeders here. They may not sell to Pennsylvania pet stores. I know that we have a commercial one in Lancaster County who only sells to a South Carolina dealer, and they sell to South Carolina pet stores. And so many of ours come from huge places outside of Pennsylvania. Yes, they're USDA licensed, but if you look at what the USDA requires, I mean, they even have it in there, and I have it printed out somewhere. They even have it right in their information that you just have to measure from nose to tail and add 6 inches, and that's the minimum requirement. And for these other states that don't have dog law to license them like we do, but it's hard to, like, it's such a shell game because they're moving them all around,
Right,
and
they're
you may get
crossing
some
over,
from big
what
ones.
you're saying there is they're crossing over state lines.
Right.
So is this bill, if enacted into law, would close some of the loopholes, is what you're saying, with regard to the commercial breeder that's, strictly for profit and mass production?
It would end the outlet.
Unfortunately,
It
yeah.
would end the outlet. So it would, your constituents wouldn't be able to walk into a store and purchase a puppy that was bred in Missouri in terrible conditions and was transferred here, potentially underage. Even, they doctor paperwork all the time. And so it eliminates that lack of transparency. So if somebody wants to buy a puppy here in Pennsylvania, and we do not want to remove people's choice in purchasing versus adopting and rescuing, we just want to make sure that this is more transparent. We want people to go and see the puppy with their parent, and the same with kittens and rabbits. We talk about puppies the most because they're the ones who are the most financed through the pet stores. They're the highest prices out of the 3 species that we're talking about, but it's the same for them as well.
Right, we're not trying to ban commercial sales, regardless of how you feel on it, and I have my own feelings that I won't put forth. But thank you for clarifying with regard to where we're going with this law.
Yeah, and Ariel probably could speak even more to that because she's from a national organization that sees how it works through all the states as well.
We're also joined online by Representative Hohenstein and Representative Williams. Representative Haddock with a question.
I see the doctor's back online. I'll hold off.
Thank you, Representative. Dr. Resnick.
Hi, thank you so much. I apologize. On behalf of the Humane Veterinary Medical Alliance, I'd like to express my strong support for House Bill 1816. I've worked as a shelter veterinarian in Philadelphia the last 15 years, primarily in the city's open admission municipal shelter. I also serve the public's pets in multiple low-cost medical and surgical clinics. I provided medical and surgical care to thousands of dogs, cats, and rabbits relinquished to shelters by owners who were unable to afford their pets' medical care. I regularly witness the heartbreak of owners who surrender their pets and the scared and confused shelter animals as they desperately search for their former family members. In low-cost clinics, I hear despairing tales from people who don't anticipate or plan for the expensive treatment their pet store purchase requires. Most dogs sold in pet stores are sourced from puppy mills, where inadequate provision is made for the health and welfare of the animals. I see countless puppies purchased from pet stores who present with life-threatening illness because of improper vaccination, congenital diseases, and behavior disorders due to improper socialization and bad genetics. Well-intentioned customers are often uneducated about the source of these puppies, as well as the genetic problems of various dog breeds that will later require expensive veterinary care. Inadequately vaccinated kittens and puppies are unprotected against viruses that can cost thousands of dollars to treat. When owners cannot afford this care, they're relinquished to overburdened shelters, or they must make the difficult choice of economic euthanasia. Unlike those from pet stores, animals adopted from shelters are properly vaccinated. They're spayed and neutered. This prevents illnesses that are costly to treat. If for some reason an adopter cannot keep a pet, they can be returned to the shelter to find a new home. This is not an option in pet stores. Breeders who supply animals to pet stores put profit over the health and welfare of the animals. Breeding dogs are not screened for genetic diseases, which result in young dogs developing severe joint disease and arthritis, brachycephalic or flat-faced breeds who struggle to breathe. While many think shelters are full of mixed breed dogs, I've seen an increase in purebred dogs, such as French bulldogs and huskies, over the last few years. Additionally, rabbits purchased from pet stores often end up in homes without receiving the appropriate care unique to that species. And most people are unaware that the cost of an exotics vet, since most vet practices are limited to dogs and cats. Victoria's law would encourage pet stores to partner with local shelters and rescues to promote adoption of homeless animals. Many pet stores have gained more customers after the transition to a humane sourcing model. I've met countless pet owners who, when given the opportunity to adopt animals from shelters, tell me how rewarding it is. These partnerships not only help pets find homes, they also create space for incoming animals and increase the community's awareness about homeless animals. Alongside shelter staff, I work tirelessly to ease the suffering of countless animals. As more animals enter than exit shelters, even healthy animals are at risk of euthanasia. It is daunting and emotional work. Anything that can be done to staunch the flow of animals into shelters will help us. We cannot spay and neuter our way out of this. We cannot adopt our way out of this either. Restricting the retail sale of dogs, cats, and rabbits would have a substantial impact on the number of animals entering shelters and rescues and alleviate some of the burden on them. Enacting Victoria's law is the least we can do. Let's make it easier for animal lovers to do the right thing and adopt instead of shop. I urge you to add Pennsylvania to the growing list of states that have enacted similar laws that improve both animal and human welfare by supporting House Bill 1816. Thank you for your time and consideration of this legislation.
Thank you, Doctor. Representative Haddock.
Thank you, Chairman. Really, I just wanted to share a story rather than an actual question, but I come from a family that actually hunt with sporting dogs, beagles, and I had a tragedy with my main dog when he unfortunately died unexpectedly through an accident, and I adopted a dog from the city of Philadelphia. It was online, and family was giving it up, and I went down and she certainly seemed healthy. Was only a year old. They said it was a gift for Christmas. I took Misty and was able to. When I was leaving the house after I adopted the dog from the family, they said, "Oh, we have a shipping crate. We'd like to give you a kennel. It's no good to us." And I said, "Well, I'll take it. I have several." But interesting, my dog came from the Midwest, and the breeder information was there because it was shipped in from the airport. So I called the breeder out of curiosity, and they said, "Yes, we sell thousands of dogs." And I went, "Uh-oh." And I said, "Well, do you remember shipping a dog?" And I had the date and the number. And the guy said, "Well, I'd have to check records, but no, I don't recall even shipping one to Philadelphia, but it would not surprise me that we did." Well, Misty went on to develop a hip problem and had hip dysplasia. And Misty today is at a very young age of age 5, actually went paralyzed in her back legs. And I keep her, and she has her walking wheels. She no longer is no longer a sporting dog. She's our house pet, and my dogs are always kept in my house anyway. But I always wondered, was Misty from an outright puppy mill? No way to prove it. It's very suspicious. My family had one time we bred our own dogs. We have a long history. I never saw a beagle with hip dysplasia. So it was my first venue of it, and tragic. But Misty still has a good home. So I gladly support this bill, and I thank Representative McNeil, for the sponsor of the bill, for bringing this to the table, because I have a strong suspicion that Misty came from a puppy mill, and that's part of her health problems. So, thank you.
Panel 1 is excused. We have no more questions at this time. Thank you. Now, pardon me, Representative Hohenstein.
I can waive off until next speaker, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Panel 2, Dr. Honigman, President, Pennsylvania Veterinary Medical Association. Joining us online.
Good morning.
Alyssa Miller, Vice President, Government Affairs, Pet Advocacy Network. Chip Kosher, Pennsylvania Farm Bureau member, Beaver County. Dr. Honigman, you may proceed with your testimony.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairman Burgos, Minority Chairman Metzger, and members of the House Consumer Protection, Technology, and Utilities Committee. My name is Andrea Honigman, and I'm a practicing small animal veterinarian in Western Pennsylvania. I am currently serving as the president of the Pennsylvania Veterinary Medical Association. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today on behalf of the organization. The Pennsylvania Veterinary Medical Association is PA's only statewide professional membership organization for the veterinary profession, representing over 3,400 veterinarians, certified veterinary technicians, assistants, practice managers, and other support staff. Our mission is to ensure the vitality of the profession by promoting excellence in veterinary medicine, advancing animal health and welfare, and protecting and enhancing human health. The PVMA issues the following statement regarding our concerns and opposition to House Bill 1816, which would ban the sale of dogs, cats, and rabbits by pet stores in Pennsylvania. The PVMA is in support of efforts to directly improve the humane treatment of dogs, cats, and pet rabbits in Pennsylvania, particularly through increased strengthening, funding, and enforcement of our existing Pennsylvania dog laws, which this General Assembly did by passing Senate Bill 746, now Act 47, in 2024. Act 47 increased dog license fees, increased fines for violations, improved consumer transparency, public safety, and animal welfare. PVMA and many other stakeholder groups supported this legislation. This bill included provisions to require pet shops and kennels offering dogs for sale or adoption to display specific information, including the dog's identity, the breeder location, and state or federal license number, and documentation of inoculation and medical treatment or a bite history if it existed. The PVMA supports the enforcement of these regulations against commercial breeders, rescues, shelters, or any bad actors who are selling, breeding, kenneling, or housing dogs not in compliance with these important laws. House Bill 1816 does not impose any new or enhanced penalties targeting unlicensed kennels, meaning it does nothing to deter or shut down illegal breeding operations that already operate outside of the law. Because unlicensed kennels are not regulated or inspected, eliminating licensed pet shops will not affect these bad actors. In addition, House Bill 1816 creates a new statutory framework with definitions that differ from the existing Pennsylvania animal and dog laws, increasing the likelihood of confusion, inconsistent enforcement, and unintended legal conflicts. Many of our members are actively engaged in the practice of veterinary medicine in this state. We are in the trenches, observing firsthand sometimes the appalling and irresponsible keeping, kenneling, and breeding of pets. The reality is that these woeful animals can and do come from anywhere, including private breeders and rescues, and not solely from pet shops. Campylobacter and parvovirus outbreaks can and do occur anywhere that animals are kenneled or where new animals are constantly introduced to a population, regardless of where the pet is purchased or adopted. Many unhealthy pets are bred here in Pennsylvania by illegal, unlicensed breeders. But make no mistake, many of these sick and ill-treated animals enter the state through internet sales, brokers, agents, and rescues. Our fear is that more animals will come into Pennsylvania from out-of-state breeding sources and animal auctions over which the Commonwealth's Department of Agriculture has little to no control. PVMA is concerned that prohibiting the sale of dogs, cats, and rabbits in pet stores will push consumers further into the grasp of online sales. These online sites engage in the most misleading consumer practices and false advertising. Dog brokers are extremely well-versed in hoodwinking consumers into thinking they are buying from private, responsible breeders or a reputable, accredited rescue when nothing could be further from the truth. They provide literature that appears to show bucolic family farms, but it's very targeted marketing and sustained by online ads that offer images of healthy puppies. Very often, these puppies are sickly upon purchase or shortly thereafter, and owners are left completely unaware of what they have actually purchased or where the pet was sourced from. There should be very stiff criminal penalties imposed on organizations that are falsely representing animals as rescues, as this is another way in which consumers are being defrauded. The PVMA is concerned with the lack of data that shows retail pet stores are selling animals from, quote, puppy mills. At the end of the day, we are the healers of your beloved dogs, cats, and other pets, but we are also scientists engaged in the practice of medicine where evidence and fact have a place. Simply put, there is no real evidence or data that only irresponsible or bad breeders sell their pups to retail pet stores. There are no hard facts to support the claim that banning the sale of dogs, cats, and rabbits in pet stores will make any difference to illegal kennels or cut off their source of revenue. House Bill 1816 diverts attention from the real problem. It does not punish or shut down illegal or unlicensed kennels. Instead, it eliminates regulated pet stores. Any concerns about pet store sales should be addressed through the existing regulatory and enforcement mechanisms rather than through a blanket prohibition on the sale of certain animals. PVMA is focused on strengthening and enforcing Pennsylvania's existing dog laws. Bad breeders must be held accountable, and irresponsible breeding practices should be subject to meaningful regulation, fines, and criminal prosecution when violations are repeated or egregious. Act 47 of 2024 represents an important first step, and PVMA supports the work of the Department of Agriculture's Bureau of Dog Law Enforcement. PVMA recognizes that animals can suffer from inhumane conditions, which may lead to health and behavioral issues, and this is not limited to breeding facilities. These issues may exist in sheltered and rescued animals, and we cannot presume that all health and behavioral issues will be known or that this legislation will curtail that. Adopting a rescue animal comes with the same unknowns, often more unknowns, as these animals may come from out-of-state breeders and public auctions. As the healers, advocates, and caretakers of animals, PVMA's members are fortunate to share our lives with them. We are honored that the public entrusts us with the happiness and health of these tremendously important members of the household. Sometimes at the end of the day, the love of a pet is all you may have to come home to, and the emotional bond is significant between pet owners and their four-legged family members. We owe it to the Commonwealth citizens and pets to do the very best that we can for them, and for us, that means taking the most direct approach with the limited resources at our disposal. Thank you again for the opportunity to testify. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Doctor. We will ask questions at the end of the panel. Next, Ms. Miller.
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Chairman Burgos and members of the House Committee on Consumer Protection, Technology, and Utilities, I really appreciate the time that you're giving and the thoughtful consideration. My name's Alyssa Miller-Hurley.
Ms. Miller, is the green light on?
The green's on.
You might want to pull up the mic a little bit closer.
Like I'm eating it.
There you go.
As I mentioned, my name's Alyssa Miller-Hurley. I'm with the Pet Advocacy Network. We are the association that represents the responsible pet care industry around the country. We represent retailers, companion animal suppliers, manufacturers, distributors, and small business owners, many of which are here in Pennsylvania today. And on behalf of the pet care community, we're asking you respectfully to vote no on House Bill 1816. Pet stores are subject to stringent regulations, including regular inspections, licensing requirements, and adherence to strict animal welfare standards. And these regulations ensure that animals are healthy, well cared for, and sold with a guarantee that protects the consumer. Families who purchase these pets from well-regulated pet stores benefit from transparency and accountability, knowing that they're acquiring their new companions from a trustworthy and professional source. This bill, however, would simply shut down these small businesses. Bills like this that have been enacted in the 8 states around the country have shut down between 95 to 98% of all of these small businesses and pet stores in the states that they were passed in. California saw every single one, 28 of the 29 stores shut down. The only one that did not shut down was an aquarium specialty shop. In New York, 95% of the stores shut down. The only ones that did not were specialty shops selling small animals, birds, and reptiles. While well-intentioned, these retail pet sale bans will not stop the bad breeders we all agree should be put out of business. These breeders who are unregulated, unlicensed, and are not held accountable to any pet care standards will simply continue to operate. Nor will this bill do anything to reduce the shelter population. In California, which has had a bill enacted since 2019, LA County enacting a breeding ban because of the shelter overpopulation, and the euthanasia rate for shelters in California remains the highest in the nation. Simply put, this bill does not reduce the demand for purebred dogs or purpose-bred dogs. It simply shifts it underground into the black market. In California, as I mentioned, which has had a statewide ban since 2019, the unregulated underground puppy market now has thrived. A 2024 investigation by the LA Times revealed that thousands of these puppies, often purchased online at rest stops or by those claiming to be local, quote, hobby breeders, come from breeders that well-regulated pet stores do not and cannot work with. These puppies were coming from breeders with animal welfare violations, including severe neglect, overcrowding, and poor veterinary care. In one instance, puppies infected with parvovirus were knowingly transported without treatment, endangering both the puppies and their eventual owners. We've also seen a disturbing trend continue to crop up in addition to people getting their animals from Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist. There are people now selling dogs on TikTok Live, claiming to be small hobby breeders, and we know that they are unlicensed and unregulated. Veterinarians in California, moreover, saw an increase in consumers purchasing sick dogs from unregulated sources after the state banned it, and they directly attributed the uptick in sick animals they saw to that ban in 2019. Without stores to personally interact with and select their new pet, families may turn to, as I mentioned, these unregulated sources where they could fall victim not only to purchasing a sick animal, but potentially not even receiving the animal or inadvertently working with one of those bad breeders we agree should be shut down. The Better Business Bureau has stated that fake online puppy sellers and puppy scams have dramatically increased by 39% since 2017, and up to 80% of all sponsored online ads for puppies may be fake. Victims of these puppy scams often have no legal recourse because they purchased from a source without any regulatory oversight and without a purchase warranty to protect them. We have seen people who have purchased animals online who never receive that dog, and when they go to try and receive that money back or try to receive some compensation back, they're unable to because, again, they worked with an unregulated source online. Pennsylvania law, however, has been strong in ensuring that these substandard breeders cannot work with anyone in the state. As we have seen other states and localities where bans have been imposed, bad breeders and illegal backyard breeders end up thriving, something which we have been lucky to see in Pennsylvania, kept at a relatively lower rate than in states that have these bans in place. Current law here in Pennsylvania emphasizes traceability, veterinary oversight, consumer protection. In addition to the licensing and inspections, dog law requires robust record keeping and health documentation tied to the sale of dogs. These consumer protection provisions create traceability and accountability that simply do not exist in unregulated online marketplaces, backyard breeding operations, or informal person-to-person sales. And House Bill 1816 would eliminate one of the only pet acquisition channels where the seller is known and licensed, the source breeder is identifiable, records are required, inspections are routine, and enforcement is possible. We believe that enforcement, not prohibition, is an appropriate policy solution. And if the concern is bad actors, Pennsylvania already provides the appropriate tools, and we would be happy to work with the legislature to strengthening those tools and increasing the already robust regulation. We are not against regulation. We, in fact, are in favor of smart regulation. And in states across the nation, 7 different states last year rejected extreme pet sale bans in favor of working with the industry to increase regulation, including enforcement. We know that these bans do nothing to stop bad breeders, and we know that these bans only push people to the black market. We believe that there is a solution to be had here if the concern is continuing to improve animal welfare in the Commonwealth. We do not believe that an extreme ban like this is the next necessary step. Pennsylvania's existing framework already accomplishes what this bill proposes. It regulates the bad breeders that sell into the commercial market by making sure that stores here in Pennsylvania cannot work with them. It ensures humane care standards through licensing and inspections. It protects consumers through disclosure and warranty requirements, and it maintains traceability from breeder to buyer. Rather than dismantling the system, we should focus on enforcing and strengthening existing law, which has already made Pennsylvania a national leader in kennel regulation and animal welfare oversight. And beyond everything I've already laid out here, our members in Pennsylvania feel a strong responsibility for the animals themselves. They work with families to find the ideal pets for their situations because the best way to ensure a lifelong pet relationship and to keep an animal from being surrendered is to make sure that you're providing a family or individual with the appropriate pet for their current situation in life, whether that's living in an apartment, whether that's being a student, or whether that's having a small child. These local businesses here in Pennsylvania are committed to the health, safety, and well-being of the animals they provide for families. We think that Pennsylvania already has a strong, enforceable regulatory framework, and shutting down the licensed and inspected pet stores will not stop bad breeders. It will only weaken oversight, reduce transparency, and harm both animals and consumers. And it is for those reasons that we respectfully urge the committee to vote no on House Bill 1816 and instead work collaboratively to build on Pennsylvania's already existing strong animal welfare protections. And thank you so much, and I'm happy to answer questions when appropriate.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from Mr. Kosher, Pennsylvania Farm Bureau member, Beaver County.
Hello, I am Chip Kosher. I've been professionally involved in the pet community for 30 years. Currently, I sit on the State Animal Welfare Committee for the Pennsylvania Farm Bureau, and I sit as a delegate representing Pennsylvania on the BLC, which is an organization of leaders from 15 different state animal welfare organizations that work alongside the USDA to promote the quality raising of puppies. I am sure you share our commitment to ensuring puppies are being raised humanely and with the highest standards of care. Here are some facts about the industry that you may not be aware of. Since 2015, the number of USDA-inspected kennels that have had violations has decreased from 33% to 8%. Pennsylvania currently has 2 professional organizations dedicated to educate our puppy raisers and promote the continued improvement of the quality of care of their puppies. These are PPDBA and PAWS. Both of these organizations have a continued working relationship with Pennsylvania dog law. PAWS has instituted a kennel assistance program based on current PA dog law, but this program exceeds the requirements by law and has implemented a canine care program based out of Purdue University that exceeds all regulations and ensures that our puppies and their parents are treated with the quality of care expected, not just by the USDA and the PA dog law, but by the families who provide a forever home for their puppies. This does include genetic, DNA testing, and OFAs. Lastly, I commend this body for providing legislation that enables our Pennsylvania puppy raisers to exceed even the requirements that are currently required by the USDA. We strongly would like to address the continued improvement in the care of our pets. We share the current federal administration's crackdown on the chronic dog welfare violators. Unfortunately, most of the chronic offenders are not licensed kennels, either by the USDA or PA dog law. But these offenders continue to drag down the reputation of the best puppy raisers in the country. We fully support any effort that you have to crack down on these unlicensed offenders or for the minimal licensed offenders in the state that are offenders. Last year, out of over 2,800 licensees, the state of Pennsylvania only had 11 chronic offenders that were licensed. But we cannot support eliminating entire industry because it will have no effect on eliminating these unlicensed kennels. In fact, Victoria, the namesake of this very bill, in past bills that have come before the House, was received from an unlicensed kennel herself. In addition to wanting to improve the standards for all of our puppies, we also want to address our concerns about how this bill will affect our valued puppy customers. This bill will either force a family to adopt a puppy from a shelter or force them to purchase their puppy from an out-of-state kennel that will most certainly not have the same standards as our licensed kennels here in Pennsylvania. The bill, as it is written, will affect any commercial kennel in the state of Pennsylvania, even those that are selling directly to the consumer, not to the pet, just to the pet stores. This prevents a family from purchasing the puppy of their choice. It also will result in a loss of approximately $10 million in sales tax revenue in the state of Pennsylvania, approximately $200 million in revenues to the state, and much more in non-direct revenues. Lastly, this bill does nothing to improve the quality of our shelters in the state. The current requirements of our shelters and rescues do not meet the same standards as our licensed kennels in the state. This bill does provide for an out-of-state business, or provide for an out-of-business kennel to provide shelter to dogs for these organizations without being able to charge for it. If our licensed kennels are not meeting a good quality of care, why would these organizations want to use their facilities? Lastly, I want to address our populations of our shelters. Philadelphia recently got done conducting DNA testing on the dogs in their shelters, and they found that over 80% of their dogs in their shelters were coming from unlicensed kennels within the city of Philadelphia, not from so-called puppy mills that were in the state. Thank you very much for your time, and obviously, if you couldn't tell by my testimony, I would strongly hope that you vote against House Bill 1816.
Thank you, Chip. Now we have a question from Chairman Metzger. I stand corrected. Representative Hohenstein.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate everybody's testimony today, and especially appreciate Rep. McNeil bringing this bill forward. I do think it is something that we need to be looking at and focusing on, and I'm glad that we're having this hearing. So thank you, Chairman, for having this, and thank you for everyone for being here. My question, and really for any of the current panelists as well, is that question of the in-state puppy mill. The last comment especially was a little concerning because I don't know it reflects what I understand to be the experience. This often is not an issue of like the problem coming from Philly. I am a rep from Philly, and I understand we definitely have some issues there. I myself have had fosters from law enforcement from puppies that were bred in Philadelphia and then had to, be held. But my understanding is that there is a lack of a standard of care that stretches industry-wide. And I appreciate people trying to say that that's what's happening, but I honestly don't see it. And I do believe it really does come from within unlicensed breeders. And I also am really especially concerned about answering the problem of in-state unlicensed breeders in a significant way. And I know most of you on this panel don't want us to be passing this bill, but I don't see a good alternative. And if you have a way to change this bill that you think makes sense to address, some of these issues that you see, or if you believe that there's something that this bill is really missing, I'd like to hear it, because I don't know that I necessarily got that from your testimony, maybe predominantly because I don't know that I see the problem as the same one you see. Because I do feel there's a significant problem in state in Pennsylvania with puppy mills that don't either play by the rules or again fly completely under the radar, and the relationships that they have with sheltering programs are also a concern. So I do share a lot of the concerns I'm hearing from you all. I just don't know that I share where the solution is, and I'd love to hear how you guys think we can craft a better solution.
So I guess to address your question about Philadelphia specifically, Philadelphia just is in the process of trying to pass a moratorium on any pet breeding. It did pass, but it would basically require you to either go to a shelter or buy from a licensed Pennsylvania kennel. Whenever their reasoning for doing so is when they were looking at their shelter populations, they were getting a vast majority of their shelter populations were coming from unlicensed kennels, specifically one breeder that raised huskies within the city of Pennsylvania. She was an unlicensed kennel. To your point, you were 100%, sir. Our issue is with the unlicensed kennels. Imagine if you went on to Facebook Marketplace and you hired an electrician and your house burnt down the next day because he wasn't any good, and all of a sudden the Pennsylvania state legislator was trying to propose a ban on all electricians that are licensed. That's essentially what we're doing here. We're trying to punish the actors that are meeting their requirements, that have heating and air conditioning in their kennels, that are meeting all the standards that this legislative body has proposed to them, and are meeting with great expectation or surpassing expectations and continue to improve but we're going to put them out of business because you have bad actors and unlicensed kennels that are not following those same standards. That's our concerns. What we would like to see is a bill put forward to actually have some teeth to go after these unlicensed kennels. And we would love to work with you on doing that, because it's not just the state of Pennsylvania.
What is the industry itself doing to self-regulate and self-police? Because I heard the previous speaker with a certain amount of concern that some of the requirements, especially across state lines, but even within Pennsylvania, it's sort of like just meet the minimum. And frankly, the minimum is kind of outdated if we're just giving dogs an extra 6 inches of a cage.
Yeah. Hi, and again, Alyssa Miller with the Pet Advocacy Network, and we're the association that represents the responsible pet care industry. Happy to address that and also echo, the concerns and the statement that we would be more than happy to work with the legislature on going after these unlicensed and unregulated kennels, because we do share that concern. And we also just know for a fact that this bill does absolutely nothing to address that issue, and in fact would only increase the likelihood that Pennsylvanians would be inadvertently supporting these unlicensed, unregulated, and likely illegal kennels in breeding facilities. In terms of what is the industry doing, the industry was a big proponent and supporter of Purdue's Canine Cares certification program, which is a state-of-the-art program developed by Purdue University, which goes above and beyond what the Animal Welfare Act and USDA require. If you were to go online to their website, you would see that the requirements and the science-based requirements are incredibly robust, and it takes quite a lot of investment in time, money, and energy for a licensed breeder to be able to become Canine Cares certified. We are also seeing Penn State has recently hired someone to start enacting their own program similar to the Purdue Canine Cares program, and we've been in conversations with them. We encourage all of the breeders that we work with and all of the pet stores that we work with to engage with Canine Care certified breeders. And we encourage all of our members to make sure that they are going out and visiting their breeders in person several times a year, that they are not only self-policing, but reporting any bad actors. The industry itself, like any industry, there are, of course, bad actors, but the industry as it was 10 years ago even has made incredible strides and continues to move forward because it knows that it cannot survive unless it continues pushing and pushing and pushing to make sure that animal welfare is first and foremost. And so that's really why when we come and we speak in front of panels with the legislature against these bans, we are in favor of robust regulation. We, in the state of Nevada, are in the process of working with the legislature to completely overhaul their current regulations because we don't believe that their regulations are strong enough or good enough. And so we're proposing stronger regulations that would impact our members directly. So again, we're not against the regulation. We're in favor of smart regulation. We support programs that go above and beyond and continue to try and push animal welfare forward. We're engaged at the federal level and talking to folks about animal welfare standards and looking at how we can continue to improve those. But again, we know that this ban would not go after those bad actors. It would do nothing to shut down those unlicensed and unregulated breeders. Pet stores cannot work with unlicensed breeders. They cannot work with unregulated breeders. They did, they would be shut down. And so we know that by shutting those folks down, all you're doing is shutting down the most highly regulated source for animals while doing nothing to shut down the unregulated breeders and backyard breeders and bad actors that are within the state of Pennsylvania.
Can I comment on something to that? So the one thing that you would ask is, how are we self-policing? And that's something that is been a challenge, not just from ourselves to self-police, but also from PA Dog Law, USDA, and because that policing involves funding. I mean, we can certainly turn somebody in, and we're more than happy to do so, but at the same time, that involves funding. One of the encouraging things, we just got done, the Breeders Leadership Council that I mentioned I sit on, we just got done having our annual meeting with the USDA last month. And one of the encouraging things is under the new task force that the USDA is putting forward, they're actually going to have DOJ money to do some enforcement. So we'll be able to blow that whistle, if you will, but instead of relying on the minuscule dollars that are provided to the USDA or the PA dog law, we now have the full weight and power of the DOJ, which, let's face it, they have a little bit more money behind them than what PA dog law does. They're funded by more than dog licenses and kennels licenses. So that was something that was very encouraging to hear, because it is a major problem. Because let's face it, those people that are doing the underground things, they're not the easiest people to spot just driving down the road either. They're underground because they're underground.
Do we have any additional questions from our members online? Hearing none. Any closing remarks, Chairman Metzger? I think we lost them.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the opportunity. It seems like this is a little bit of a divisive issue, and there certainly seems to be some confusion, and I'm glad we had the testimony today. But I'd also point out that, I think historically that this issue's been in the purview of the Ag Committee. And then I think today's testimony shows that the agricultural community really is the expert in this realm. And I would strongly encourage that we maybe re-refer this bill to the Ag Committee. I don't think our committee is equipped or, focused on this type of issue. And so as we move further on it, before we would actually consider the bill, I think a referral discussion is in order.
Thank you, Chairman. I hear a passion on both sides of this issue. And in politics in today's atmosphere, because of federal decisions on various issues, specifically immigration, our farmers are losing money hand over fist. We're having a larger number of farmers filing for bankruptcies because of these foreign policies that are affecting everyday farmers in Pennsylvania. However, the protection of Pennsylvania consumers is extremely important. And I would encourage both sides to continue the dialogue so that we can meet at the middle of the road and propose something that will be a standard, not just here in Pennsylvania, but across America. Thank you, everyone. Hearing no further questions, I call this hearing adjourned.